Hello and welcome to the JW Thoughts channel. My name is Wally and today we are back in action. Yes, we are doing the beautiful broadcast bonanza. God, that was terrible. Yes, we are battling these beautiful, I'm going to keep going, beautiful bigots who bemoan bubbly babies because beloved brains are bewildered brazenly by blockheaded bozos besmirching best friends while backing blundering beliefs between belting boasts. Oh my goodness, that actually didn't go as badly as I could have ever imagined.
You serious?
Anyway, yes, we are picking up the September broadcast. It was one of the worst that I think I've ever seen. And yeah, we had part 2 yesterday. So if you missed part 2 or part 1 yesterday, then go check that out as well. But yeah, let's get straight away into it. Don't forget to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, say hi to Winston. Everyone say hi to Winston. Winston. Woo. Now that you've said hi to Winston, run the intro.
Now, let's discuss a second example of the voice of our fine shepherd Jesus. Matthew chapter 5, verses 27 and 28. Jesus said, "You heard that it was said, you must not commit adultery. But I say to you that everyone who keeps on looking at a woman so as to have a passion for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart." Our fine shepherd is telling us not only to avoid sexual immorality, but also to flee from anything that could lead to it, such as immoral thoughts. And at Matthew 19:9, our fine shepherd tells us, "I say to you that whoever divorces his wife except on the grounds of sexual immorality and marries another commits adultery." Here Jesus makes clear that the only valid basis for divorce and remarriage in God's eyes is if a disloyal mate commits sexual immorality.
Now, I did an entire video on divorce and some of the problems and everything with the Jehovah's Witnesses, so you can definitely go and look for that. So I won't go too much on cover some of those same points, but one thing that I do just want to highlight before we jump into this discussion is how the Watchtower prides itself on not following rules. They say, oh no, we don't have a long list of rules, but we follow principles.
Our motto is fast on principles and slow on rules.
And this just flies in the face of everything, at least in my mind, that Jesus would approve or he would have preached. Yes, there's this one verse that you have, whoever divorces his wife, right? That he read before. Yet, what if that person's in a horrible situation? What if their life and their health and their happiness is at stake? Wouldn't Jesus himself take the principle over the rule and say, well, no, obviously we can't hold this over to someone if it's going to endanger them in some fundamental way. And because Watchtower prides itself on principles, surely they are not going to tell people that even if they are in a dangerous situation, they need to stay married because of a rule, right?
But what's the voice of strangers of Satan's world telling us regarding divorce, adultery, and other forms of sexual immorality? No problem. It's your choice. You have the freedom to do what you want.
If you're not hurting people, what is so bad about having the freedom to do what you want? And this is someone that lives in America and enjoys all of the freedoms that other people, risk their lives for. You enjoy all of those freedoms, but no. You want to disparage freedom because ordinary Jehovah's Witnesses, you wouldn't want them to wake up one day and say, oh my God, I'm free to do what I want. I find that anytime they bring this point up of talking down to personal freedoms, just really infuriating.
In fact, in order to make sexual immorality appear more innocent, it's often euphemized. Sexual perversion, such as homosexuality, is called an alternative lifestyle. One so-called expert said, it's simply like being left-handed. Pornography is called adult entertainment. Adulterous betrayal of one's marriage mate is called having an affair.
This irritated me to an elevated degree because I anticipate Watchtower to come forth with bigoted, horrible things when it comes to anything LGBTQ, right? We just know, even from that last convention, remember when, was it David Schaefer, and he called it just all of these horrible names, and it called people all of these horrible names. So that doesn't even surprise me at all. But what I found amazing is that he lumps all of these three things together. He's saying homosexuality, pornography, and cheating on someone, cheating on one's spouse, are all lumped together here in the same group. And I just thought, what are you talking about? And when I'm talking about pornography, I know that there's obviously some issues and problems with that when it comes to illegal and people being exploited, so I'm not discussing that, but I am going to be doing a video on pornography because Watchtower actually released a video that's intended for the public on the dangers of pornography, and it's really wild. But anyway, I'll save all of those rants for that video. But the fact is, we're talking about something where no one's being harmed, and then someone is being lied to, cheated on, in a abusive situation where someone is taking advantage of their trust. And how is that the same? How is pornography and homosexuality the same as when someone cheats? It doesn't make any sense. And in his mind, I think all of these things are just one category.
Many call getting married old-fashioned and see nothing wrong with living together without marriage. And this world's media is very skillful at presenting something bad as good. For example, in a movie, a female character might be portrayed as having a husband who is abusive. You like the woman, and you want her to find happiness. Then a handsome man starts working in her office, and he's so nice to her. There's an attraction between them, and the budding romance is presented as something good. Soft background music makes it hard to consider her course to be bad. It's easy to keep watching and hope she leaves her marriage mate and runs off with her workmate. And usually that's what happens.
So I've been sitting here for about 15-20 minutes just completely stun-locked, just my head on the table, listening to the sweet melodic sounds of Winston's nose whistling while he takes a nap. And I just find it so incredibly sad that this man, this leader of millions of people, would say something so stupid and so harmful. First off, don't listen to this doofus. If you are in a abusive relationship, get the fuck out. It's a big, scary world out there, but staying in an abusive relationship isn't going to minimize the big, scary world. You still have to live in that world, and it's not okay. Anyway, I won't go on and rant about that for 20 minutes, but I just think it is so telling of what it's like being a Jehovah's Witness. This is, if you could just sum up in maybe one clip what it means to be a Jehovah's Witness, maybe this is the one you would show people and say, hey, look, their leaders are suggesting that it's foolishness, and look at this world with their deplorable, perverted standards that they have, where they would portray someone in an abusive relationship that finds happiness, that finds love, that moves on to a better place in her life. This empowering story. And look how evil and horrible and satanic that is. That is what it is to be a Jehovah's Witness right there. Because what they want people to do is stay no matter what. Stay in an abusive relationship no matter what. I think we can make the mental connection If you are a Jehovah's Witness right now, you are in an abusive relationship, and Watchtower is the abuser that doesn't want you to leave. The message is abundantly clear here, and I wish I could say something a little bit more eloquent on the matter, but like I said, I've just been sitting here shaking my head, and yeah, comment down below what you guys think about this, because I'm speechless.
So easily, we can forget that Jehovah and Jesus hate adultery and unscriptural divorce. But when we reject the voice of this world and listen to the voice of Jehovah and Jesus, we bring protection and blessings to ourselves and others. But now, our third example.
I got a bone to pick with you, bozo. I am just blown away by this. For him to make these statements anyway is just completely ridiculous. But then to go on and say we get protection from staying with abusive people, that gives you protection and blessings. What are you talking about? And this is the problem with being a Jehovah's Witness and everything being spiritual, even though you're living in the real world. Because I know what he's meaning. Well, you get spiritual protection. And you get protection, you'll get everlasting life in the future. We live in the real world. Okay? So you can't just have every single interaction, every single viewpoint, every single position that you take be based on something that you cannot demonstrate even exists in the first place, and their version of it just seems properly insane anyway. Ugh, good God, this is just some of the worst advice that we'll hear ever come out of Watchtower's mouths, and it's so sickening to me that there are going to be people affected by this. There's going to be someone that's a Jehovah's Witness that watches this, that's in an abusive relationship, trying to muster up the courage and a game plan on how they can get out of that, that's going to sink right back into the toxicity and the abuse based on his words. This guy needs to shut up.
That our focus should be on spiritual things and not on physical things. And this is especially true when thinking about where we are in the stream of time, in the final part of the last days. But what's the voice of strangers of this world on this subject? Exert yourself vigorously to acquire material possessions. Pursue things that will make your life comfortable, because that is what will bring you happiness.
This is absolutely ridiculous. Watchtower is priding itself on how they are building an entire replica of an ancient city in order to make it easier for them to do their shooting for their little films and movies that they like to make. They have no problem in spending money, other people's money, in order to upgrade their quality of life. Yes, they could continue to make videos. They could continue to produce content and material for Jehovah's Witnesses. They don't need to be spending this extra money. Like, I don't think that if they didn't make a drama that had this ancient city, I don't think Jehovah's Witnesses would be like, well, I guess I'm not feeling spiritually fed now because we didn't have a movie where they wore horrible fake beards. I don't think that that is a reality. Watchtower functioned, if not thrived, without having those type of cornball movies and the videos that they make now. And yet they are totally fine in trying to upgrade and advance that. Why? Why? If we are in the last part of 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 the last days, just as he's suggesting, shouldn't they be hunkering down? Shouldn't they be, okay, well, we are right at the cusp of everything blowing up. I don't think we need to be planning these movie projects that aren't going to be completed for 5, 6, 10 years down the road. So they have no problem telling Jehovah's Witnesses, don't plan for your future, but we sure as hell are going to plan for ours. It's just so fork-tongued of him.
The question is, to whom are we listening? Jehovah and Jesus tell us to be content now with a spiritual paradise, and to concentrate on our life-saving preaching work, and that they will provide a physical paradise later. 1 Peter 2:11 indicates that we should view ourselves as temporary residents who are just passing through this old system and headed for the real life in the new world. What do we mean by temporary resident? Well, imagine that you rent an old house to live in while a new, beautiful house is being built for you. You'll live there only a few months. Would you install a new concrete driveway? Would you put in new electrical wiring and plumbing? Would you install brand new vinyl siding? No. You might do a few cosmetic things to make your stay a little more comfortable, but you wouldn't do anything major. Why? Because you know you're just a temporary resident, and that soon you'll move into your beautiful new home. Well, if we think of ourselves just as temporary residents in this old system, it'll be a real protection against the materialism that is promoted by the voice of strangers.
If I were a Jehovah's Witness, I would be asking myself, I'm sorry, but I just would, why are you expanding your media production facilities? Why are you trying to increase all of that? Why are you planning for all of these things? It just doesn't seem necessary for how close in the stream of time that we are, and that we're just temporary residents, and I'm out here giving everything. And yet the governing body are approving projects to essentially make their lives a little bit easier. It just really irks me. And I think that even Jehovah's Witnesses watching this are going to be like, well, then why the heck are you guys building your new media centers? Are you just trying to use... Well, maybe a Jehovah's Witness wouldn't ask this question, but I suspect that they're just trying to use donated funds, use free labor from ordinary Jehovah's Witnesses. That way they can build those. And if they ever need to sell them off and be like, you know what? We honestly really didn't need to be producing those videos in the first place. So we're actually going to sell that. And that way it helps fund the Watchtower for the foreseeable future. That's probably what the real game plan is, because then they can turn it into a profit. But my goodness, this language that he's using for Jehovah's Witnesses and telling them just to put their life on hold. Your grand, beautiful beachfront house is being built for you. Everything's going to be great in the future, so you can ignore the here and the now. It's truly disruptive and disgusting to me that they just put Jehovah's Witnesses' lives on hold and say, just hold everything off. And what have we seen throughout history? Every single Jehovah's Witness that has put their life on hold has grown up, grown old, put everything off to the side, given everything to Watchtower, and died. 100% success ratio on the end never having come, even though they've been saying it's right around the corner for over 100 years now. And all of the people that have trusted in that promise and in those specific time frames that they've given have all proven to be nothing but lies and deception. What are you doing, Zizi?
But may we all be vigilant to listen to the right voice. Of Jesus, Jehovah himself said, "This is my Son, the beloved, whom I have approved. Listen to him." But in order to do so obediently as Jehovah's sheep, we must reject the voice of strangers.
It is always funny whenever we hear him say it once again, we. Let's be vigilant that we listen to not listen to the voice of strangers, but he's not really included in that we, because he is the voice that he wants Jehovah's Witnesses to look at. Now we're going to jump headlong into a real interesting dramatization and catch up with some old pals from a previous convention.
But how would you handle things if the voice of strangers was brought to you by someone close, a friend, or perhaps even a family member? That's what Jade faces in the following dramatization. How will she learn to reject the voice of strangers in a sensitive situation?
As we always say here on the JW Thoughts channel, credit where credit's due. And to be honest, I found this little intro thing pretty cool. The music was nicely done. I like the way they had all the transitions with the pictures. So, yep, credit where credit's due. I like the intro, but the unfortunate thing is the actual material that they're going to be showing is not only annoying, but I think quite harmful. Excuse me. Let's get into it.
Amen.
It smells wonderful.
Oh, wait, I forgot.
You should cook every night.
If you clean every night.
No, we'll take it in turns.
Ta-da!
But this looks amazing.
Thanks. It's a practice for my first guest.
Really? Who?
My mum.
That's wonderful.
We had our first phone call in a year that wasn't a total disaster, so I invited her around tomorrow.
It'll go great.
All right, so just to give a quick lore update on who these characters are, the Jade, she is someone that was brought into the Jehovah's Witness after she was contacted and started studying the Bible, and she was Jade and stood for like jaded, and she was always skeptical and asking a lot of questions, and then eventually she found herself roped into the Watchtower organization. Now, a few years later, we're getting this update with, hey, look, I haven't talked to my mom and hasn't blown out into a weird conversation, but we're actually agreeing to have dinner, so let's see how that goes.
Hi, Mum.
Hello, love.
Come in. Nice to see you. Nice to see you too. Let me take that.
Oh, thanks, my love.
It's fine.
Your roommates, you say they're explorers?
Pioneers. They preach full-time, but they work part-time.
I see. But you're not...
No, not yet anyway.
Jade, love. All this. I see it's made you a better person. Heaven knows I tried. But I miss bits of the old Jade.
Bits? What bits?
Where's the Jade that questioned everything?
So when I was a Jehovah's Witness, I would have found this to be a little bit odd because when people ask me, well, don't you guys question everything? I would always tell people, absolutely. I have researched and studied my faith and I can prove that it's true because what is faith without, accurate knowledge? That's kind of how we always looked at it. And I wonder if this is just going to be a shift. I don't know if you call it a new light or an adjustment in how they approach things, but we always took at least the people that I knew and myself and my family, the concept that, faith without evidence was just blind faith, and we don't have blind faith. So when she mentions this and her daughter Jade doesn't give any answer, she's, well, what happened to the person that questioned everything? She doesn't come back with, well, no, I did question everything, and that's what led me to the Jehovah's Witnesses. When I was that person, I became a Jehovah's Witness because they had the answers. She just kind of wants to ignore the question. I wonder if this is how the governing body wants them to proceed going forward because of the obvious mounting evidence against or contrary to the things that the Jehovah's Witnesses claim. And because of the access to that information and how readily available it is on the internet, I don't think they want people to say, well, no, I can back up my claims. I know my faith is true because I have evidence for it. I'm not just a blind follower of Watchtower. But I wonder if that's what we're getting here, is this dramatization is trying to steer Jehovah's Witnesses in a different direction. And again, the Watchtower is constantly changing, and this just might be another manifestation of that. But I know for me personally, when I was a Jehovah's Witness, this would have immediately been answered with, well, what do you mean? I am that exact same person. I did question everything, and it led me to the truth. And they call it the truth for a reason. Truth isn't just ignorance. They may as well call it the ignorance now. Well, no, we just don't ask any questions, and that's why we know it's true. So yeah, maybe we'll do that. Hashtag the ignorance. It's no longer called the truth. I think someone had a comment on one of the previous videos and said we should call it the adjustment. I like that one too. So either the ignorance or the adjustment. I think those are pretty good.
So then she pulls out her phone and starts showing me stuff about witnesses.
What kind of stuff?
News stories, all negative and slanted. I tried to change the subject, but she just kept at it.
See you later, girls.
Oh,
Bye,
bye.
Keisha.
Sorry, I gotta get ready.
Oh yes, trying to show me stuff, but it was all negative and slanted. I think any time something is presented in a negative light to a Jehovah's Witness about their organization, they're automatically going to think that it's slanted. And as she said, well, I just tried to change the conversation. She's not going to her friend here and saying, hey, have you heard about this? This is kind of interesting because da-da-da-da-da-da-da. She's like, no, I was just trying to change the subject. I was trying to run away from things because I didn't want to hear them. This is the strategy for maintaining your faith as a Jehovah's Witness.
Well, how long are you going to be gone for?
I'll stay another month. I told my daughter it's too hot here. What's happened to me?
Abigail?
Jade girl, how are you?
Been better.
Oh, Nita said that your mother visited.
I hope you don't mind.
No. Mum's driving me mad. It's like it's her hobby to ruin my life.
Oh, she sounds wonderful. Like me when my daughter got baptized.
You opposed your daughter?
Oh, mercy, yes. I love her so much and didn't want to lose her.
But I'm not going anywhere.
Of course not, but a worried mother doesn't know that.
Mother, lunch is ready.
I got to go, but I have a scripture for you. When you read it, remember, your mum is not the stranger.
John, chapter 10 and verse 5. They will by no means follow a stranger, but will flee from him, because they do not know the voice of strangers. Mum is not the stranger. It's what she shares. Reject the voice, not her.
So first off, when it comes to the conversation they had with their friend that was in another country that used to oppose her daughter. Oh yes, for years I opposed her. But what was the reason that she opposed her? She said, well, I was afraid of losing her. This is just something fundamental that everyone needs to understand, is you can do lots of different things, and you can do those things for good reasons or bad reasons. And opposing your daughter because you just didn't want to lose her isn't a logical reason. That's not a logical response. It's just an emotional one. Well, I don't want you to leave, or I don't want to lose you. Okay, well, that's just a feeling. Whereas if she said, I opposed her because I didn't want to lose her, and I knew that the teachings of the Watchtower were false. I investigated what they were saying and compared that to reality, and I found it not to sync up. And because of that, I tried to explain to her, hey, this isn't true. And then down the road, she proved that it was true. No, it's nothing to do with that. It's, I opposed her for a long time because I didn't want to lose her, and then we got all back together and I just caved in and joined their religion. Again, when you're not operating an evidence-based life, you can find yourself in all manner of really horrible situations because you didn't think your way through things. So now Jade's sitting here and she's reading this scripture, about reject the voice, not the person. You're like, well, my mom's not the stranger, so I need to reject the thing she's showing me. Well, the thing she's trying to show her is the evidence. That is, hey, look, I'm trying to show you evidence against the things that you have been taught as a Jehovah's Witness. Now, again, I don't know if this is saying it's apostate stuff or just like negative stories in the media or whatever. They don't really talk about that because why would they? And her conclusion is, okay, so I just need to ignore all of those things, but just continue to love bomb my mom. And that's what it really comes down to, right? It's not, hey, I'm going to show my mom why these news reports that are slanted and deceitful aren't right. She's not saying, no, I'm going to show my mom why the apostates are lying about Jehovah's Witnesses, and here's the evidence in favor for my beliefs. None of that is happening here, and that's what is so frustrating and infuriating about trying to deal sometimes with Jehovah's Witnesses. It's like, no, I know it's true based on my feelings. Like, the truth doesn't care about your feelings. The facts don't give two shits about how you feel about them. They just exist. And whether or not you want to accept those facts, that's up to you. But those facts, hey, it is what it is. I know if I throw this, it's going to fall. Now it's up to me to accept that, hey, this theory of gravity that seems to be fairly reliable, I need to accept that because I don't want to jump off of a building thinking I'm going to fly someday. Sorry, long rants.
Did you look at those links that I sent you?
Mum, I want us to get together, but I won't hear anything negative about my beliefs.
Well, perhaps we just won't talk religion.
It's a deal then?
All right then. I can see I'm not going to get anywhere. So what subject do you want to talk about?
I really was hoping when I watched this, and the first time I watched it, and I'm always thinking, okay, what are they going to say next? I was really hoping the mom was just going to say, well, why? But of course, I mean, Jehovah's Witnesses obviously hate that question. Why? But imagine how different things would look if the mom just said, well, why don't you want to hear anything negative about it? And Jade would have to scramble and come up with these weak excuses, because at the end of the day, what is the problem with hearing things that are negative if your beliefs are true? If they are grounded and founded in evidence, and it's not just blind faith that you've stumbled into because it makes you feel good or that's where your friends are, you have no problem with dealing with that. If someone wants to challenge me on anything that I say, I'm like, hey, bring it on. I enjoy that. One of the greatest feelings, and again, greatest feelings and greatest moments I have in life is when someone just shows that I'm wrong about something, because that means I'm learning something new, I'm progressing, I'm growing as a person. Imagine living your whole life just never wanting to be challenged, never wanting to be wrong about everything, just thinking, yep, got it all figured out, don't need to learn anything more. It corrupts the entire human experience. But anyway, I'll probably stop pausing so much, but I did think it interesting that they're trying to set up this deal. Okay, well, what if we just don't talk about it? Don't talk about it. Don't ask questions. Don't be negative or anything like that. And then we can be friends. And then we can have our little dinner dates. Why does it have to be on your terms? Why are you the ones that are like, no, I will only talk to you under these very specific circumstances, Mom? And who's the one that's put it in your head that those are the only circumstances that you can talk to your own mother?
The deal fell apart fast.
Jade, I know we weren't going to talk religion, but I must tell you this one thing that
Mum,
I read.
I thought we weren't going to talk about this. It's getting late. I'm going to go. Thanks for dinner. I'll call you tomorrow.
Jade, I got an alert this morning and I'm really
Mum,
worried about this.
No, I don't.
I was sure this wouldn't work. And then it happened.
Jade, I'd like to change our agreement. If I ask you what you believe, you get to answer. Short answers, I won't be converting. It's a deal then?
Yeah, it's a deal.
I do wonder if this is actually going to be the end of this saga, or if what they're going to show in the future is that, hey, the mom just was starting to play the long game and said, well, what if I just ask you about your beliefs you can answer? And then she starts asking some hard questions and she's like, oh, okay, well, now my mom's a real opposer and it's going to lead to her shunning her own mother. I don't know. Maybe that's where this is going. I don't actually know. But just how stupid is that? Oh, now I'm all excited. Yeah, so I can share what I believe with you. Perfect. But you can't share anything with me. Like, what an egotistical little turd that Jade has turned out to be. Jehovah's Witnesses just know how to create these little narcissistic people that have all the hubris in the world and think to themselves, no, I'm special. Everyone can hear what I have to say, but I need to reject everything else. All of the big, scary people out there that are trying to ruin my faith. I got to reject all that. But as soon as they get the opportunity to tell you about baby pandas and watermelons, oh yeah, woo, let's go. I want to tell you all about that. Oh God, this is just why being a Jehovah's Witness is so miserable, because you live this life and it's just pathetic.
How wise it was for Jade to distinguish between the dangerous falsehoods about Jehovah's people and the person unwittingly promoting them. Jade took a clear stand, but she also patiently showed that she loved her mother. This not only protected Jade from dangerous thinking, but also helped her mother.
Stephen Lett, you can't keep calling it dangerous falsehoods unless you prove it false. It's that simple. You can't just say, there was another great comment in the last video, you can't just refer to yourself as the evidence. What you think in your own head isn't evidence, my man. And this, if this isn't Orwellian, I don't even know what is, but, and she protected herself from dangerous thinking. So now thinking is dangerous. Now you need to safeguard your thoughts, reject negative thoughts. Where do we hear all of these expressions? Yes, it's something that Jehovah's Witnesses are masters at.
I told my parents about it, of course, and especially on the worst day, I told them everything. My parents always brought up scriptures, Proverbs 27:12. Anytime I saw the bullies, I would avoid as much as possible. Another thing that I was always doing was praying constantly, always praying. Before school, during school, after school. There are times when I would go into the library and just read books, just stay to myself. During those times, I would also pray to Jehovah, and he was a friend to me. He was somebody that I could speak to on this matter.
I did end up talking to my parents about it. They let me get my side of the story out. They were listening and they wanted to help out, and they made me feel loved. I definitely took this time to reach out to the elders, and they really encouraged me and assured me that I was not only somewhere where I was needed, I was also somewhere where I was wanted. I took some practical steps. I moved my locker. I made sure not to retaliate.
So we're back with the My Teen Life series, and they're talking about bullying. So I've cut out most of this because I think we're all very familiar with how it might go for someone in school. So they're just getting bullied at school. And what is the solution? It's the solution for literally everything. They could be talking about divorce. They could be talking about work. They could be talking to a child in school. And you go to the elders, and what do they say? Just pray about it. Just pray and pray and make sure you're regular at the meetings. It's so crazy. Now, one thing of note was the elder's response to this. And what he said was, oh, well, we wanted to reassure you that you're in a place that needs you and that wants you. How is that going to feel if he ever has any questions about the organization? Are they going to show that same level of commitment? You are wanted and you are needed. Or what if he slips up one of these times, gets drunk, has sex with his girlfriend when they're not married, something like that? What's going to happen? You will immediately realize you're not wanted and you don't feel needed, because they'll kick you out and shun you. Cut you off from everyone that you know that's a Jehovah's Witness and say, until you grovel back, until you cry and come begging on your hands and knees, then after you're sufficiently humiliated, we will accept you back. Yeah, I don't think that's going to make someone feel wanted. Also, I thought it was kind of interesting how when they're setting up the shot, because I don't think anything is accidental here, they showed that he plays video games. Those look like some custom PlayStation controllers sitting on his desk. So I did find that a bit interesting. So I guess video games are okay. So shout outs to you Jehovah's Witness gamers out there. A woohoo. Well, for fear of this dragging on a little bit too long, I am going to probably cover some of the other sections of this broadcasting, maybe on a stream, because I did actually find them to be kind of interesting, but they might be more suited for a stream rather than doing a video format like this. So, thank you so much for joining me for the broadcast. It has been a very wild ride, and I do think that this might be the worst broadcast ever. So thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time. Also, if you're already aware, the streams happen over on a separate channel called JW Stream. So go check that out. Subscribe to that just so you get notifications when we're going live. Thank you so much. See you next time.